So tomorrow is the fourth and final day for the tour in the St Gervais this year. Fifth day if you include the rest day as well. So we've really been spoilt for choice. So I had hoped to be able to bring you to start the stage at least as far as the Col de Loze, if not further, as I have with some of the other stages. But the day job got in the way, so you have to make do with a talk through instead of a walkthrough of tomorrow's stage. So the stage departs from St Gervais on the big bridge approximately in the centre of town, so it should be a really good atmosphere at the start of the stage. And it very quickly heads up towards Megève, and then down towards Flumet, and then over towards the Col de Loze. And then onwards towards the Tarentaise and the mighty challenge of the Col de Loze, the high point of this year's tour at over 2,400 metres. So today's time trial may well have looked like it was decisive, but there's still a hell of a lot to play for, and it could all change in the final climb up to the Col de Loze, which is an absolute monster. While although watching the start of a race itself is actually pretty uninteresting, just watching the riders slowly roll off, there'll be tons to keep you entertained before the start. Arguably the build up to start the race is much more exciting than the start of the race itself. There's the sign-ons, you'll be able to see the riders warming up in the paddock, and the usual circus that is the start of the Tour de France. Plus again there's the caravan, which will be departing 2 hours before the actual race starts itself. So if you are in the area and you're not busy, it's definitely worth getting to St Gervais and soaking up the atmosphere one last time before it departs our shores, as it were, for different pastures and then onwards towards Paris. So the caravan will depart St Gervais around about 10:20 AM, so if you want to see that you have to get there pretty early tomorrow. Then the race start proper will be at 12:20, with the riders reaching the end of the neutral zone around about 12:30. So it's relatively short neutral zone tomorrow because it's mostly uphill, so it's not too dangerous for them to be going off relatively soon after the gun. So yeah, slightly earlier start than some of the other stages because there's got a hell of a lot of climbing and it's going to be a pretty late finish over in Courchevel. So you should expect the riders to get to Megève relatively quickly, around about 12:40. Then they should be passing through Flumet again around about 12:50 before they start climbing up to the Col de Loze. And then if you want to watch it at the Col de Loze, you expect them to be there around about 1, half past 1, depending on speeds. Then again from there, a long fast descent towards Beaufort, and then up towards the Comte de Roseland. So you should expect them to get to the Comte de Roseland around about 2, and then the top of the next categorised climb, the Côte de Longfoy, around about 3. Then from there, all that remains is the mighty Col de Loze. So the approach up to the Col de Loze is slightly different this year to what it was 3 years ago. They're heading towards Courchevel first, before then traversing across the front of the mountain through Latagna, get into the Méribel Valley, then tackling the Col de Loze, and then descending again towards Courchevel before a final ascent up to the outer port in Courchevel. So yeah, it's not necessarily all over when you get to the top of the Col de Loze itself. There's still the steep and technical descent, and then the final pretty steep ascent up to the outer port itself. So yeah, even if you're winning over the top of the Col de Loze, could still lose it before the end. So the leaders should get to the top of the Col de Loze around about 5ish, and then the race should finish in Courchevel around about 5:30. So yeah, pretty long stage. So Jonas Vingegaard completely dominated the time trial today, and you'd be forgiven for thinking the tour's virtually over, which potentially it is, but for likes of Pogacar, if they can't make a move tomorrow, then realistically the only remaining stage to actually make a dent in Vingegaard's lead is stage 20 in the Vosges Mountains. So yeah, it's not quite all over, but he's got a pretty commanding lead now, and if nothing happens tomorrow to change that, then he's going to be sitting pretty happy for the final 3 stages up towards Paris. So thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed these videos, perhaps the previous 3 slightly more than this one, but I definitely expect to be doing this again next year, even though it's unlikely that the tour will be spending this many days in my area next year. Even if it doesn't come anywhere near close to me, I'll be putting the bike in the car and definitely going off for a ride, because I quite enjoyed riding a good chunk of the stages like I have done this year, so I'll definitely be doing it again. So yeah, tune in next year if you want to see more of my very amateur coverage of the Tour de France and see what an absolute punter looks like climbing up some of these climbs.